All right, welcome everyone. This is Monday at 5. This is a little different time. As I mentioned last week, and as I mentioned in my email, these next 2 weeks, I want to try and do my meeting, our meeting, earlier in the week so that as you build the next 2 parts of your Creed document, you kind of have a little more instruction than maybe what's in the book. And what's in the book is great, but this will be helpful, I think, as we do this. So the question is, and as you build your personal Creed document, you will notice that some of the things are going to be kind of similar. So the very first PCD 1 was your beliefs. Well, guess what? Some of these are now going to reappear as values in personal Creed document part number 4. So you've done your beliefs, now you're going to do values. The second part of your Creed document, you did your board of advisors. 2 weeks from now, you're going to do a section on gratitude where you're going to name influential people in your life that you're grateful for. And guess what? They're going to be some of the same people. Some of your values will translate into goals. So that might be a repeat again on some of those kinds of things. So my question today, to start off with, what is the difference between a belief and a value? Or are they the same? Or can they be the same? Any ideas? Belief versus value. Okay, Melanie says, a value requires taking action. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, a belief is what leads us to have certain values. Excellent. Beliefs influence our values, actions. Okay, good. Anybody else? All right, let's forge ahead a little bit, and you guys have got it. Values are an extension of your beliefs or our beliefs in action. Okay, so exactly right. Your beliefs in action. So I think in Inner Victory it says, you might believe in a democracy, but do you value it enough to go vote? You know, I believe in having a healthy body, but do I value my body enough to exercise and to watch my diet and to get enough sleep? I value my relationship with I believe that I should have a good relationship with my wife, but do I value it enough to actually put that into action, right? To believe it, to value it enough to act on it. So the question is, the point that I want to make, when your actions and your values are in alignment, you will have peace. But sometimes we don't do that. When our actions are not in alignment with our values, we'll be frustrated. So the question is, if you value something and you know you should be taking care of a relationship or your testimony or your physical body or your health or all those things, why is it that we don't do that? Sometimes we do, but why is it? Why do we sometimes not act on our values? Anybody want to share? Okay, Melanie says laziness. Thank you.
I think that sometimes we don't act on our values because they're not our true values. Like, they're more of what we think we should value rather than what we actually value. Okay. Like, if you actually value it, you're going to do it.
That's a great point, right? And sometimes we pretend to value, right? Or maybe we think we ought to value it maybe because our friends do, or someone's pushing a value on you, maybe a parent or a boss. Okay. Angelica says insecurity or fear. And Katie says fear of what others think. Okay, excellent. Anybody else? Happy to hear your voice too if you want to chime in that way. Well, when I used to teach this class face-to-face, I haven't taught this class face-to-face for a lot of years, but for many years I taught it in a regular classroom. And on today's lesson, we would have what I call the buttermilk experiment. Has anybody ever drank buttermilk? At my house, we always have buttermilk in the fridge, but we make buttermilk biscuits, buttermilk pancakes, buttermilk syrup. So has anybody ever drank buttermilk? Abigail says it's super gross. She is right. And Melanie says never by itself. Well, what I would do is I would get in the classroom and I'd say, who here in the classroom is absolutely 100% certain that they would never drink buttermilk? And people would raise their hand. And I would pick one of those people and I'd send them out in the hallway. And then I would say to the rest of the class, all right, we're going to bring so-and-so back in. And your job is to do whatever you can to convince that person to drink some buttermilk out of a glass. And then I would pick one person from in the class to be the buttermilk advocate. And I'd get a table out and we'd have a glass and a thing of buttermilk. I also doctored the buttermilk with food coloring so it was green to make it even more unappealing. But I probably did that over 15 years, 100 times. And we never had somebody, the class never failed in getting that person to drink buttermilk. And they would bribe them and they would, chide them and they would harass them and they'd beg them and they'd always drink the buttermilk. So the example there is sometimes we do things out of peer pressure. That's another reason we might do things. Well, when we have our values, this is a little exercise that you could take on. Okay, let me move this so I can see this. So you ask yourself on your values list, the value that I shared last week is that I value being a dad is super important to me. But sometimes I can go to bed or I can spend my law of 1% time and ask myself, how am I doing at being a dad? Am I satisfied with it? Sometimes it might be like not satisfied, clear on the left. And then the question is, well, if there's a discrepancy, if you're not satisfied with that value, what's the barrier? What's happening? Am I too distracted? Am I too lazy? Am I too under stress with a challenge that I'm dealing with? So then you have to do a little self-evaluation and say, okay, how can I get the value and my satisfaction with that value lined up? Well, here's a little lesson I want to share for today, and then we're going to talk about how to build your Creed document. What happens, and I've never mastered this. I'm actually not going to try because I'm going to fail. What happens is we have life happening, right? Like right today, I have life. And things are good today, mostly. I mean, we all have things in life. But sometimes we have these triggers. Now, I'm going to use pornography as an example, right? I don't have a pornography problem, thankfully, but a lot of people do. And it's not that they want to have it, but what happens is you look at these three arrows as like trigger points. It could be a thought. It could be a pop-up. It could be a temptation. It could be remembering. Well, if we let that trigger and the next trigger and the next trigger, we end up in a place that's not really good, right? It's like, all right, I'm here in this spot and I'm maybe a little vulnerable right now. And so what happens is I like indulge, right? And this could be a whole myriad of things we deal with, pornography or gossip or self-defeating behavior or the word of wisdom problem. And then what happens though is we slip and make a mistake, but then we leave and now life opens up, but we have life with guilt. Well, the reason we have life with guilt is we have violated some value. And the value that we have violated is going to cause us to be frustrated because we know we're better than that, right? We know that we could do or should do or should be better. Well, what happens in life is that we can have BLAST. Has anybody seen this before, the BLAST model? Or is this all new to you? Well, I'm just going to teach you what it is. BLAST stands for bored, lonely, angry, stressed, or tired. Well, when we have these triggers, if I'm any of these, sometimes I might be all of these. I might be bored, by myself, angry, stressed out, and tired. And sometimes when we're stressed, we're more tired because it affects our sleep. And we're dealing with a hard thing. I might just be bored, right? I'm only bored, but I'm by myself, and I've got the computer, I've got my phone, and I'm going to be tempted. any one of these could make us more vulnerable to a challenge. So this is the question I'd like to ask. You guys can chime in. How do we beat blast? How do we keep up in the top part of life where we're happy and not feeling guilt because we've made a mistake? Any ideas? We could, okay, Melanie says stay close to the Spirit. Have an action plan. Brianna, excellent. Stay busy. Lance, thank you. Sadie says taking responsibility when you do make a mistake. That's super important, right? Because no one's going to get through life without having the narrow tunnel moments, right? We're all going to have them. Okay, good habits to respond to the triggers. Okay, so I'm gonna jump on what Angelica said. Good habits to respond to triggers, and what Brianna said, have an action plan. So my suggestion is that you have kind of an action plan. You have like a to-do list. And these could be good habits, right? So if I know that I'm susceptible, I'm like in a spot that's not great, I could say, all right, I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to open up my scriptures. I'm going to do 10 push-ups. I'm going to go serve somebody. I'm going to do something, okay? And when you do those things, you just have to interrupt the trigger right there at the start. Interrupt that trigger, and you'll have a better result. So Danny says, don't beat yourself up to make a mistake. Just get back on track and do better next time. One of my favorite books is called Failing Forward. So learn from your mistakes. In fact, you might learn more from your mistakes than from your successes. Okay? All right. Here's a little activity that I think is good to think about. This isn't in the book, but this is what we call your resource allocation process. This is from David Clayton Christensen. One of the ways to look at what you value is to look at where your resources go. I'm just going to summarize this. A strategy in company's life is creating 100, every day you're making these things. With every moment of your time, energy, every decision you make, how you spend your energy or your money, you're making a statement about what really matters. So look at what you're spending your time on and your money on and your energy on. That'll help you understand what your values are. Now, this is why I want to talk about this, okay? Before, and a couple of you may have already done it, built this part of your creed document, but the reason your creed document and value statements can make a difference in your life is if you incorporate that into your 1% time and your positive self-talk and positive vision. So you're going to have a value statement. I value health, for example. And then you're going to write some affirmation statements. There's no set number on affirmation statements. I would recommend no more than 5, but more than 2, at least 2 or more, okay? So here's an example. I value others, okay? An affirmation statement that's going to go below that should be these 3 things: present tense, positive, and concrete. So here's an example. I am not mean. Tell me what you guys think of that affirmation statement. I am not mean. Is that okay, or could you do it differently? Think of present, positive, and concrete. I am means it's present.
Maybe I am kind, always kind to others.
Yep.
Because, like, you want to be cognitive with yourself.
Yep. So Brianna is exactly where you were. She said, I am kind. Melanie says, I am nice. Jackson says, I think it should be more about things that you are not what you aren't. Excellent. It's kind of vague, and he says that. Okay, so here's the next one. I try to be kind. Talk to me about that one. Take out the try. Thank you, Sadie. None, not concrete from Danny. Yep, thank you. And then Brianna says, try is not concrete. Okay. And Annie does Yoda. Do or do not, there is no try. Love that. I will be kind. How about that one? Not present. Thank you, Lance. Okay, so we're going to get back to I am. And this goes back to a lesson we had earlier, and we said what follows I am follows me. So what your value statement should state would be I am. So look through those. I'm going to show you an example here in a minute of some that aren't, okay? So just as whatever your value statement is, and then 2 to 5 affirmation statements that are more like I am kind. And then you're on it. It's exactly what it needs to be. Then on your law of 1% time, as you're reviewing this value, you're saying to yourself, I am kind, I am kind, I am kind. Then when life presents itself and you have an opportunity to actually practice it, you've already practiced it, okay? You've already scripted it for your life. Okay, so here's some examples, okay? Now, I actually need to update this because every semester I get great PCD4s, and I need to replace these examples. So these examples actually might be a lesson on how not to do it, even though at the time I thought they were okay, okay? So you're going to list a value: faith, relationships, agency, happiness are the values. These affirmations are too long, okay? They're good affirmations, but they're not great for scripting. My faith in my Savior gives me great strength and guidance. Shorten that to, I have great faith in my Savior. I have assurances that it will work out, okay? I saw an I am down here. I'm moving the stuff around. I am the person I am by the people I surround myself with. That's kind of weird. Okay, let's look at another example, okay? Example 2. All right. Here is an example of what have I done to you guys? I've lost you. Oh, you're down at the bottom. Let me move to the left. All right, so I value my friendships, okay? Let's look at that one on the right. I value my friendships. I am a good friend to many. I think you could shorten that, okay? I make an effort to contact old mission buddies and roommates. You could say, I stay in touch with my friends, okay? Let's look down to my ability to work and provide. I am a good employee. I think you could strengthen good, okay? Think of good, better, best. I am a great employee, okay? I strive to do my best. So it doesn't have to be I am. I strive to do my best, okay? Under physical health, I always remember to thank Heavenly Father. That's too long, okay? I'm hoping I'm making sense here. Here's another example, okay? Let's look at education, okay? No, family, okay? Let's help. This is actually from a lady who teaches this class, so I'm opening up chat and make sure I see this. How could she better do the family the second? Now, the top one I like. I place motherhood as my top priority, okay? Not too long and positive. How could she better do I will be a better wife? Okay, make it present. Excellent. Let's actually, Melanie, try doing a new affirmation there. Maybe start with I am. Okay. I am a better wife. That's better, but I would probably do I am a great wife. Okay. I am learning to be a better wife, Brianna says. Okay. That one might be a little future tense. Okay. Let's look at just a couple more here. Sorry, I keep moving everything around. Hope. I know there is always hope. I know there is always hope. Okay. That was probably, what do you guys think of that one? I know there is always hope. I am hopeful. Angelica, perfect. Okay, there is always hope. Yeah, excellent. So that shortens it. Okay. How about employment? I have the skills to obtain employment. I have a tremendous work ethic. I have a tremendous work ethic is present tense, positive, and concrete. Okay. All right. So again, just to sum up, as you build this personal creed document, I would shoot for, this is my recommendation. I'm not going to well, I would recommend this. 5 to 7 value statements and 2 to 5 affirmations for each value, okay? And then just do your very best to do the I am short, not I always, I have, I am. I follow is a good example. Let's tell you how old this was. This is back from President Hinckley. Avoid I will be, avoid I'll try, avoid I'm not, okay? Keep it positive. Now, for sure, all of us maybe not, we're not there yet to I am, right? But that's what we're striving for. And that positive self-talk, positive vision will help you get to I am faster. Okay, any questions about today's assignment, this week's assignment? Any questions about this week? Okay, I'll stay on to answer any questions that you might have. If not, good luck this week as you build your personal creed document. And we will see you next week at the same, well, yeah, actually next week we will try to do Monday at 5 because we're going to do goals. Okay, and I want you to maybe have a chance to do that before you actually build it. All right, again, I'll stay on. Thank you. Please let me know if you have questions.